So in today's video, I want to show us how to make a placket. So the first thing you need your front bodice. This is the front bodice I'm going to be illustrating this placket with, and this is my fabric that I'm going to be using as the placket. So as you can see, I already ironed my interfacing at the back. So you are going to, this is the good side, which is the right side, so you are going to iron your interfacing at the wrong side, so which I've done. I've ironed my interfacing here. It's totally your preference, guys. Anyhow you want your placket, depends on how bold and how long you want your placket to be. That's how much you are going to cut for your placket. So usually in this type of placket I'm going to be showing us today, one side is usually smaller than the other side. So because I want my placket to end at 1 inch or 1.5 inch anyway, so I'm going to separate my placket into two pieces, and I want my placket to be as long as 8 inches. So I'm going to mark that over there. I want it to be as long as 8 inches. That's the opening I'm going to have, should be as open as 8 inches. That is what I desire. So I'm going to be separating my placket into two sides. So one part is going to have 2.5 inches, which I'm going to mark over here. So I'm just going to mark 2.5 inch all the way down, 2.5 inch. Then I'll take my ruler to rule that out. Good. So now I'm just going to take my iron. I'm just going to assume this part now is my middle part. So I'm going to take my iron to give that a little crease. So placket is very easy to make, just that is a little bit tricky. So I'm going to use my iron to give it a crease around that part. Good. So, and that's done. So I'm going to take my ruler, then I'll measure 8 inches down, which is the length I want for my placket. 8 inch, 8 inch. This is how wide. So I'm going to measure 0.5 inch on both sides. So I'm going to be measuring 0.5 inch on both sides. So I'll turn my ruler to the other side. I'm also going to take 0.5 inch on the other side. I hope you guys can see clearly what I'm doing. So I'm just going to do all of these markings here. So and my placket wideness measures, let's see, 7 inch wide by 11 inch long. So this totally depends on you. It's actually your preference. Whatever you desire, you can do that for your placket. Okay, so because I want my placket wideness to end at 1.5 inch, so that's the reason why I made my placket this wide. So it all depends on the boldness you require for your placket. That's how much you are going to be taking for your placket. So I want my placket opening to be 8 inches. That is why I'm marking that around here. My placket opening, I want it to be 8 inches. So the distance between the top of my placket and here is actually 8 inches. So on this side of my placket measures 2.5 inch, and on this side of my placket measures 4.5 inch. On this kind of placket I'm going to be showing us today, one side of the placket is usually bolder than the other side. So I'm just going to use my iron to create a crease in the middle to separate the two sides. This is the smaller side and this is the wider side. So now I measured half inch on both sides, and this is now assuming to be my center line. So I'm going to come over to this side. So I'm going to separate it a little bit. I'm just going to leave from the distance between here and here, 0.75 is fine. So I'm just going to take this off like so. So this is what you will have for your placket, and you are going to put interfacing. As you can see, I've already added interfacing to the wrong side. This is the right side. I already have my interfacing on the wrong side. So now this is the bodice we are going to be using to illustrate this class today, and this is the good side of my bodice. So we are going to be sewing on our placket to the wrong side. So I'm going to take my bodice to the wrong side, and I'm also going to try as much as possible to use my iron to create a crease at the middle. So I'm just going to create a crease at the middle of my pattern of my bodice. So I'm going to iron that down so that it will be easy for me to sew. So now I have a crease in the middle of my pattern. I guess you guys can see. So I'm going to just place my placket over there. So my placket also has a crease. You can see that's the middle part of my placket. So I'm going to place them all together, middle to middle. Remember, this is the wrong side of my pattern, so and I'm going to pin on that middle line. I'm going to pin on the middle line. So like I said before, remember, the wideness of your placket depends on you, depends on how wide you want your placket to be. That's what you are going to choose. So this type of placket, as I said before, one side is usually smaller than the other side. So that's the reason I have 2.5 here and I have 4.5 on this other side. So I have 4.5 on that side because I want my placket to end at 1.5 inches wide. So this is what I have now, and I'll take it to my sewing machine and I'm going to sew along these lines which I have created. Can you see? Along these lines which I created, I'm going to take it to the sewing machine, then I'll sew along all of these lines like this. So now let's go over to the sewing machine. Let's do this. So now we need to take our placket to the sewing machine to sew. So the first thing you want to do before you go to the sewing machine, you want to go up here from the end of your placket by 0.5 inch. Can you see that? Then you can see that we have a middle line. Like I said before, I have 0.5 inch here and 0.5 inch here. So I'm going to make like a triangle on that 0.5 inches, like so. Hope this is clear for you guys to see. So on this side of my placket is 2.5 inch and on this side of my placket is 4.5, and this is my middle line. As you can see, I've put my pins around my middle line and I measured from the middle line towards this side 0.5, from the middle line towards this side 0.5. So, and the length of my placket opening is going to be 8 inches. So the distance between here and here is actually 8 inches. So I went up by 0.5 inch and I made a triangle line just from that midpoint. So now we're going to be taking it to our sewing machine to sew. So I'll take off all of my pins. I'll move my sewing machine aside. So now that I've sewn my placket down on my fabric at the wrong side of my fabric, so I'm going to flip it over like so. And remember those two triangle marks that we made at the bottom of the placket. So you are going to cut through this middle line. So I'm just going to start cutting through this middle line like so. So when I get to that triangle place, I'll stop. So you are going to do something like this. So you are going to continue on that triangle like so towards the end of your seam on both sides. So it's that easy, guys. So this is what we have. So you are going to have something like this. You are going to have like that triangle cut out there like so. So this is what we have. So after cutting, this is what it looks like. So I've cut off the triangle and I have this. So you are going to cut. When you start cutting, you are going to come to this two side, the triangle which you previously made. So then I'm going to now flip this over to the right side. So I'm going to flip this over to the right side of my fabric. So now I can now bring my placket all the way to the right side now. So you can see. So always work with your iron when you are making a placket, okay? Always work with your iron. So now I'm going to pick up my iron and I'm going to give this a good press. I'm going to press. I've finished pressing and it's looking all flat and neat. So the next thing I'm going to be doing here is to fold the smaller side into 2 equal halves, and I'm going to fold it into 2 equal halves and bring it back to my seam like so. Then I'll press it. So I'll repeat the same step for the other side. I'm also going to fold this. I'm going to fold a 1/2 inch on this side. Then I'm going to now fold it into 2 equal halves as well. Remember, I said I want my placket to end at 1.5 inches. So I'm going to measure now. I'm taking away the 1.5 inch or 1.25. So anything you want now, you can do it here. So this is 1.5 inch. I want my placket to end at 1.5 inch. So here I'm just taking away 0.5 inch and I'm measuring the 1.5 inch down. Perfect. So I'm folding it 0.5 inch in like so. I hope you guys can see what I'm doing. On the big side, I'm folding in the 0.5 inch and I'm bringing it back into equal half back to my seam. This is the seam allowance we previously made, so I'm folding it into 2 equal half back to my seam like so. So I'm going to now iron that. So this is really easy, guys. Just try to be accurate with your measurement and have your iron handy with you, and your iron will help you with 90% sure in making your placket successful. So without sewing yet, you can see our placket is already looking all nice and neat. So I'm going to continue ironing it down. So our placket is looking nice and neat. So, and this is what we have for our placket. So the next thing I want to do, I'm going to fold here. So here you can also measure the distance. Any kind of style line you want, you can give it to your placket, but I'm just going to be folding this like so. So I want to make sure it's equal and it's straight on the midpoint. So I'm just going to fold it. So to do that, I'm going to reduce a little bit of bulk around there. Don't forget to do this. This will help you. So I just reduce the bulk around that part. So this will help you to have a nice smooth seam when you sew. So I'm going to take that out. So I'm just folding so I can use my iron to keep that down as well. So when I'm sewing, I'm just going to sew all the way straight up on my placket. So I'm just using my iron to keep everything flat. So the next thing I'll do now, after using my iron to keep everything down, so I'm just going to the sewing machine to sew it, to secure it down to my fabric. So now I'm going to take it to my sewing machine so I can secure it to my fabric. So I'm going to be, so just be careful, sew along the edge. It makes your placket more beautiful when you sew along the edge. So when I get to where my placket opening is, I'm going to cross over to the other side. I'll put my needle down, I'll take up my presser foot and I'll turn it to this other side. So, and I'm going to make sure the smaller one is secured in it. So then I'll put down my presser foot now. So I'll continue sewing like so. Good. So then I'll continue to the end of my placket and our placket is ready. So I'm just making sure this part is straight. It's looking like one part is not straight, but just make sure you tackle that. Take off my presser foot, then I'll come over to this side. Put my needle down, raise again, and I'll go. So as you can see, we are done with our placket. So here I'm just also securing the smaller part of the placket down. So just try as much as possible to sew close to the edge, okay? Nice. And our placket is all done. So now you can now join your front bodies to your back bodies. It all depends on whatever it is that you are making. So I'll take off my thread so you guys can see how beautiful this looks. So this is the wrong side. If I'm to turn to the wrong side, so it looks so flawless and so beautiful from the wrong side as well. So this is the wrong side of my placket. You can see this is the wrong side and this is the right side of my placket. So you can choose your placket boldness as you like. It's totally your choice. If I wanted this to be smaller than this, I would have been able to choose that. If I wanted it to be a 1-inch wide placket, so just choose your placket as it pleases you, depends on the boldness you desire. So you can put in your buttons, then you can put either a pressy button, or you want to have a decorative button on the outside of your placket, and you are good to go. So I hope you guys find this video interesting, and I hope you guys find it useful to help your sewing career.